All right, guys, I'm excited about this one. Welcome to the Screen Sermon Podcast. I'm your host, B, and this week I've got Jay back on the show, which is awesome because it's only been 7 weeks. Holy shit. Welcome back, Jay.
That long? Holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, it was just the other day I was talking about Scream and repeating myself over and over again, having my opinions swayed horribly about Scream.
And also this week...
That episode of Scream, man, and I was stuck in traffic for like 3 hours that day, and like just dropping my kid off from to school. Told you, like, I started on episode 1. I think I finished on episode 6, like I was an hour and a half in.
And folks, who you're hearing this time is my good friend Mick. Mick, welcome to the show, first time on, and I'm glad to hear your voice again.
Oh man, it's good to hear your voice again, man. We used to do this back in the day, altitude sickness and shit.
That's right. Fun. It's been a long time since you and I have been on a podcast together. I am super excited because this week we are talking about a film that is near and dear to my heart, and having to rewatch it for the show, I really realized I was like, man, this is up there in terms of being one of Brandon's favorite movies. Like, this is just very much in a top 5 kind of place for me, and essentially what we're talking about this week is 1994 Brandon Lee, The Crow, and this movie is near and dear to me. I grew up with the movie. I saw it in theaters, and I just love everything about the movie, and I'm excited to gush about it. But the reason why we are doing an episode on it today, not that it's not worth talking about, but today is a needs to see, because Jay needed to see The Crow, and there's a very specific story as to why Jay needs to see The Crow, which we'll get to in a minute. But yeah, Jay has finally seen it, so he sent us a message yesterday that said a legend died today. So yeah, Jay has finally seen the film, and I wanted to start off. I wanted to give the floor to Mick, just because, new to the show and very much wanting a refresher also, because you enlightened me to the fact that the reason that you got introduced to this film was because of me, and I didn't realize that. So can you kind of go into like your experience with The Crow and why you love it, and kind of just give us your Crow story?
I mean, everyone that was like from the 90s knew about The Crow, at least watched it a little bit in passing somewhere when you were a youngin', and then as we got out of high school and stuff, you're like, oh, you haven't like really sat down and watched The Crow. I was like we're watching it, and like just became a tradition of every night before Halloween we all go to your house, go sit on the big love sack, all cuddle up together and watch The Crow, and just like quote the movie while we're watching the movie.
Yeah, some people watch Die Hard for Christmas, so The Crow for Halloween just makes a lot of sense.
If you're doing Christmas in July, you can watch Die Hard 3. There
you go.
Remember right, the Samuel L. Jackson one. I think that was during July.
With a vengeance.
Anyway.
And so yeah, for me it was really just a case of more or less being introduced to it because of the music, and my sister was listening to a lot of the music featured on that soundtrack, and I remember there being quite a lot of hype around that soundtrack back when soundtracks used to be a thing, like going out of your way to buy the CD from a movie because
buying soundtracks.
Oh yeah, I remember buying soundtracks that were better than the movie it was based off of, like the Queen of the Damned soundtrack. Soundtrack. That
Queen of the Damned had a great soundtrack.
But with the Crow soundtrack, I remember we were talking about it earlier. It's like, just getting ready to watch the movie, I was like, okay, every day before work, I'll listen to the soundtrack, because I remember liking it a whole lot.
So we had a dollar theater across the street from my grandmother's house when I was growing up, and I saw The Crow, I think with my sister, and absolutely loved it. And since then, of course, it's been a frequent viewing. But yeah, there's just something about that very comfy place that you get when you're watching movies from the 90s. It just feels very familiar, and I feel like there's a certain level of datedness that you get when you kind of go to certain films that are from decades that are a little bit before the 90s. I feel like there's like a cutoff point. You can watch movies from the 90s and it's like, other than some of the slang or, maybe some of the way of dress and things like that, it still feels like it's a relatively modern flick. And The Crow is right there in that pocket. Like, obviously the goth movement and stuff like that isn't as big of a thing these days as it was back then. But you're definitely seeing a lot of the influence that movie had, and speaking to that culture of people. This was kind of a film that was championed by the goth community and things like that. So, but there was just something about it. There's a certain character about the movie that I really enjoyed, and we can get into it a little bit more kind of as we dig in. But I wanted to give Jay the floor now, because it's time to really kind of get into the story as to why a 90s kid such as Jay and such as myself, such as Mick, how is it that a 90s kid did not get to see The Crow until 2 days ago?
Yeah, so I've been 9 when this movie came out, and I can't really speak to once it came out on video and why it passed me by. I was a huge wrestling fan growing up. So, I knew, I've always been aware of The Crow. I was aware that that's where Sting got his inspiration for, the Sting Pro, when he was in WCW. I was aware of, some of the lines from it, they can't rain all the time, things like that. But it just, as a younger kid, I just never was exposed to it. So as I got older and I was able to watch movies for myself, the first time was I think it was my senior year. I was like, oh man, I'm dating this girl, and she I'd never seen The Crow, and she had similar reactions to, what you had earlier to, why you've never seen The Crow? We need to watch it. I'm bringing it to your house. We're going to watch it. And we start to watch it, and I make it about 5 minutes in, and I would become, for lack of a better word, distracted. And the movie would get interrupted, and more interesting things would happen than watching The Crow. So,
blasphemy.
4 years later, I'm with another young lady, and she finds out I've never seen The Crow, and I was like, yeah, I've never seen it. And she's like, all right, well, I'm going to bring it over, we're going to watch it. And then I start to watch it, I make it about 5 minutes into the movie, and then I quickly get distracted and would miss the movie. This happened a handful of times, to the point where it became known as my Spanish fly, and for my friend's safety, none of my friends would watch it with me, just out of fear of what might happen. So after several years of trying to watch the movie, and and every time trying to watch it, I just would it would get interrupted, and it just finally became a thing where I'm like, I'm just not meant to see this movie. So finally my best friend starts a podcast, needs an episode of I can't believe you haven't seen this movie. So Legend died the other day. I finally watched it. I made my wife, stay upstairs. I locked all the doors, and I powered through the movie, and I watched the damn thing from credit to credit. So
that's right.
As Brandon mentioned the other day, earlier, Legend died. Yes. Here's one to you.
Yeah, I'd pour one out for the legend of that story, but I'm on a carpeted floor.
And then 9 months later, he has another kid.
That's right. Eric Draven.
I didn't do it.
Yeah, I would have to name the kid either Brandon or Eric at that point, which
right. Unless it's a girl, then
so.
Right. If it was a girl, you could go with Shelley or Sarah.
Yeah, there you go.
So I guess the best way to kind of move forward is let's just dig right into it. And I want to know, Jay, now that it's finally been dispelled for you, and to a certain degree, perhaps it's been built up, really, really big, and there's no way that this movie could have lived up to those lofty expectations. But what did you think of The Crow now that you've seen it?
So, I don't want to say I didn't like the movie. I definitely wouldn't say I disliked it. I think part of it is something that Brandon touched on earlier. It felt very 90s to me. Like it felt like a very dated movie. There are older movies, like I can watch a Kevin Smith movie and still enjoy it, but I think part of that is also my lack of nostalgia for The Crow, because of the fact that I'm a 38-year-old man seeing The Crow for the first time. I don't have that connection that someone who saw it as a teenager who might be able to relate to it more because of like teenage angst or, you know, something you're going on at that point in your life that you could connect to that movie. As a 38-year-old, you know, father who works in sales, I don't know. And again, it's just me, you know, shooting thoughts into the air. Because not to say like every movie I watched, you know, I'm like, oh, I see myself in that character. But I think a movie like that, and me not having anything that necessarily connects me to it might be part of the reason why I didn't enjoy it, or it didn't hit that warm fuzzy button like it's, you know, it's apparently obviously hitting you and Mick. I mean, I think Brendan Lee did an amazing job in that movie. I really dug his character. I dug some of his lines. I feel like a lot of the problems I had with it was, a lot of the supporting characters I didn't like. I didn't find the girl Sarah very good. Which, I mean, it's hard to bag on kid actors, but it just seemed like she was kind of a mixed character. Like, one minute she'd be, you know, cussing and things like that, and then the next minute she's like, that guy's a real butthead. It's like, I don't know. It was just kind of like a weird, like, if you're going to lean into her being a kid who cusses, like, just lean into it. Let her drop an F-bomb or something.
Especially when we're talking to, like, the set that she's in, like, where she's growing up. Like, I don't think she's going to be saying butthead. I guess she's supposed to be 14. I remember being 14. I don't think I used butthead unless I was being really sarcastic.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know why this character, the pawn shop character,
Gideon.
He bothered the shit out of me. I don't know what. I feel like he was doing a caricature of what he thought a pawn shop owner should be. Like when Crow. So wait, is Eric? So he's the Crow, right? Like I could refer to the character Eric.
I think he's just Eric.
Okay.
The Crow is the bird.
Okay. Well, then when Eric first bursts in there and starts kicking the shit out of him, what does he start yelling? He yells. Oh man, what does he start yelling? I think I wrote it down.
Shit on me. Shit on me.
Yeah, shit on me.
Shit on me.
Shit on me. Shit on me. And then he stabs him in the hand, and he goes, "Oh, my hand!" It's just like it was just, he made some choices, and they were some weird ones, in my opinion.
My favorite Gideon line is when Eric is in the pawn shop wrecking stuff, is he says, "Jesus Christ," in a taxi cab.
Yeah. And we've talked about this many times. I think I mentioned it on the Scream episode I was in. I learned about myself that I have what's called we've developed the Gimli rule. I hated Gimli in Lord of the Rings because he took me out of that place with his awful jokes. And I feel like there was parts of this movie where I'm like, okay, I'm getting into it. And then Homeboy just starts yelling shit on me. I'm just like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, what is going on? I mean, I took a ton of notes. I mean, there were some really great lines in it. When it was one of the opening scenes when he's bringing the girl out of the apartment, and I think one of the other police like ask, you know, who it was. And he goes, "No, it's Amelia Earhart. We found her." I mean, literally just started dying. I thought that was, and that's the thing. Like, I can have humor in my movies. Like, I like a good joke in a movie, and it can be a dark movie, but it's like that slid in there to fit his character. But some asshole yelling shit on me just doesn't make sense to me at all. There's my note. Yeah, I wrote the pawn shop yelling shit on me and my hand, woof. I mean, honestly, the first couple, and the thing that kind of got me when I first started watching the movie, the first like 10 minutes or so of the movie, I was like, wow, I'm really hooked. Like, how did I get so easily distracted all those other times?
That's the power of your cure, man.
Like when the cop is talking to Sarah and she realizes what's going on. She said, "You lied to her about Eric and you're lying to me about Shelley." I was like, oh man, like this kid she's too old for her own, like, so like there was things that like really pulled me into it. And then, like I said, there was just things that kind of pulled me out. I really hated the big bad.
No.
Yeah,
like
man.
Top
I
Dollar?
really didn't like him. I didn't like him. I
Get
did not like
the
Top
hell
Dollar.
out of here.
He reminded me of the dude from The Room. Like, it's all I kept.
Oh,
That's
come on.
all I kept picturing.
You mean physically?
Physically, like the way he taught his cadence. Yeah, it just. I don't know, man. It didn't fit. It didn't fit. I wanted Eric to fight somebody else, not this guy.
Oh man, Michael Wincott's my favorite part of this movie.
Really?
I love Michael
Wincott.
Wincott.
Out of me. He bothered the shit out of me. I felt like he was in a completely different movie than everyone else.
Oh my god, he's got so many great moments. Like when he's telling the story about it's basically his introductory scene where he's got his quote unquote sister and then the gal that they were evidently having sex with or something like that, and it turns out she's dead. And he says that his father told him when he was younger that childhood is over the moment you're going to die.
That was such a dope line. I was thinking
such
about
an
that earlier.
Quote.
Such a great line.
And
it's going to be Scream 2. You're going to talk.
I'm going to talk you right into it.
Right? Yeah, I was like, "Fucking Crow was awesome, guys. I got to get off the pod so I can go watch it again."
He also, one of my favorite things was when I never got the name. Who's the black guy with the hat?
Oh, I got it somewhere.
I don't know that character's name.
Trick something. It's
not Tintin.
Tintin, that's it.
No, Tintin's the guy with the knives that should have been played by Booker T.
Grange.
Oh, wait.
What is it? Rain?
Grange.
Grange.
Yeah.
The sniper guy, the one who shoots the crow and then doesn't keep shooting the crow after they realize that Eric lost all of his powers.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, going off of that, like, he was actually the original Candyman. Like, as I was watching the movie, it was like, let me go through everyone's, like, filmography and see what they did. That dude was apparently the first Candyman from the Candyman movies.
What?
Like,
I thought that was Tony
weird.
Todd.
That's his name. That's Tony Todd.
That is Tony Todd. Holy crap! I didn't even realize that.
Wait, really? That's Tony Todd?
That's Tony Todd.
I didn't even realize. You know what it is when he's got that hat on literally the entire time. So not seeing Tony Todd like with a bald head, and then he's got that real like beatnik facial hair and stuff like that. He doesn't read as Tony Todd.
The voice, though. I mean, Tony Todd's voice is, I think, the most recognizable thing.
That's true. Man, I didn't pick up that was Tony Todd at all. You would have think I would have seen that, but I never did, and I never knew that character's name.
I watched this movie for 30 years. You're just now learning.
I'm like, oh my god, it's Candyman. But yeah, when he's talking to Tony Todd, after he finds Fun Boy, I'm going to call him Tony Todd now instead of Grange. When he's talking to him about how he found Fun Boy with all the syringes in him and stuff like that, and he tells him he's like, yeah, I saw him too. He winked at me before he jumped out a 4th-story window or something like that.
Yeah.
And Top Dollar looks at him and he goes, he winked at you? Musicians.
That was another thing. Him being a musician was so 90s wedged in there, where he's just shredding on the roof. I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, that was another thing that like pulled me out of it. Like, I would start getting into it, and it would just pull me out. I'm like, why is he taking time from getting revenge to like listen to these sick licks, guys?
So I took that as, in life, Eric was obviously a passionate guitar player for Hangman's Joke, and he was making a living at it and stuff like that. Well, he's been dead for a year, so he hasn't had the ability to play a guitar, and so in between and trying to figure out what he's going to do next and to collect himself, he just goes and plays guitar. That's what I took it as.
I need you there to explain these scenes to me, because
but when we know what would happen if I was there,
Right.
I can't be there.
We would ruin 4 lives.
Just be sitting there off screen with a camera. If you also pick up a lot with Eric's with his performance as Eric, like he's playing it like he was on that brink of like becoming a real big rock star. He had that personality. Like, I feel like every time he met one of the gang that he was about to kill, or saw somebody that knew him and was like, you don't know who I am, like he kind of gave that off every time in an interaction with him. Whereas like, really, you don't, it's me, I'm the guitarist of Hangman's Joke, don't you remember me? Like, I think there's an ego play that was made on choice into that. I'm also a little high, so it might be that I'm reading a little too much into it.
Perhaps. But no, I think it's it was something that was important to his life. I mean, they had an album, Sarah Has It, like, and it didn't look homemade. Like, it looked like it was professionally made with a jacket, it had the record jacket and all that stuff like that. So he was clearly a promising young musician.
Does anyone know whether Brandon Lee was a method actor?
I don't, because I've seen a couple of Brandon Lee movies, and they're all very like late 80s, early 90s, like action fare. Like, you would see Van Damme doing similar kind of films.
Sure.
And from my memory, most of them were direct-to-video kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
And
I have a couple titles of those for you.
Hit me.
Oh my god! So
Brandon
he was
Lee
in the classic Legacy of Rage.
Beautiful. Yes.
The TV movie for Kung Fu, the movie. Yes,
okay.
With David Carradine,
Okay. Rubbing elbows.
Fucking Mako was in it too, so cool. And the last one that I wrote down is just because the name of it alone. Showdown in Little Tokyo. That'd be enough right there.
I think that was his
with Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah.
And like,
I think that was his big hit. I think that was his big hit prior to The Crow.
I really liked him in this movie. I feel like I feel like he put his, he went all in on this movie. There's 2 things that I kept thinking while watching this. The movie felt very Tim Burton to me.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just because it's that weird gothic, almost cartoony.
The color scheme.
Yeah, it felt like I was just like Michael Keaton Batman could show up.
Yes.
And start fighting Crow right now, and
it's literally in my notes that this could be Gotham.
Yeah,
in the beginning.
100%.
Yeah.
And the reason I asked if he was method, and I mentioned this earlier, there was so many things, like moments that it reminded me of Heath Ledger's performance as Joker. Like, I feel like, again, this could be like a Joker movie where in this universe, Joker is the hero.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and like, he's still the Joker, but he's like an anti-hero.
Yes.
I totally, I feel like they could have totally reskinned this movie and just said, like, alt versus Batman, Joker's the hero and Batman's the bad guy.
I have three of those moments that I wrote down specifically because of basically this exact point that you're making.
I wonder if we have one that's the same, because
I bet we do. So let's see if we match up. First of all, what I wanted to say before that is I think Brandon Lee shows an incredible amount of range in this performance. Because if you think about his father's movies, his father was obviously an incredible martial artist. I've never seen Bruce Lee not just be Bruce Lee in a movie or a performance. And so
John Wayne always play John Wayne. Bruce Lee always plays Bruce
even when
Wayne.
Even when he's Genghis Khan, he's John Wayne.
He's still John Wayne.
So here are the three moments that stood out to me where I was like, Brandon Lee, this was a Brandon Lee decision. I guarantee you it's not in the script, and he just chose to do it, and it works so well. Number one, when Gideon shoots him in the chest in the pawn shop, and he looks down and he's just watching the whole close up, and he's got that string of drool that just falls out of his mouth. I was like, that's fucking awesome. I was like, that was amazing. You know, he just chose to do that. Second one, when he comes into the apartment with Darla and Funboy, and he's just kind of like a kitty cat rubbing his face on the light bulb above his head.
Yes.
Yeah, that's like an actor's choice right there. Just kind of feel the room, Brandon.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That was one of the ones I wrote down. Oddly enough, that didn't that weird scene wasn't one of the ones that like pulled me out of the movie though. Because of how he was acting in that movie, like in it made sense that he would, he was, doing weird shit to freak people out. So it made sense in that moment. Sorry, go on.
And then the last one was the same scene. So as he's, at least I think it was the same scene. It's a scene at some point where he's talking shit to somebody, and he shoots him. That person shoots him in the shoulder, and he, turns with the impact of the bullet, and then he immediately turns back to the guy, and he just goes, "Ow," and then continues like stalking toward him. He had a lot of just like little things like that, little moments. Where you could tell this was just him having fun with it. Yeah. And I thought it made it.
Yeah. Not to keep, again, comparing it to, The Dark Knight and Heath Ledger, but the scene when Crow is walking into, like, the den, and, there's, like, the 50, gang members
gangster
there.
Guys. Yeah.
And him coming in and, like, it's a room full of people, and he's still, like, the baddest motherfucker in the room. It reminded me of the cafeteria scene where Joker goes in with the mobsters. It was just weird how many like parallels. And I wish both of them were still alive. I wonder how much of The Crow inspired Heath Ledger's Joker. Yeah, I see a lot of. I don't know. Maybe I'm, taking 1 and 2 and getting 8, but I just feel like there was a lot of similarities there and like notes and body mannerisms that, were very similar to me. A couple of funny notes. I wrote these notes as if it was a watch along. Like I was going to say these as we were, people were watching the movie with us. Just two of the funny notes that kind of popped out to me as I was reading through them. That hot dog stand that they went to where Sarah cruises up to the cop and he buys her the hot dog and stuff. I would eat at that hot dog stand. It looked great.
Dude, I'd order 12.
But them hot dogs were slamming.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's worth the next day because of how good it was the night before.
Oh, right.
Did you make bad choices? They were good at the time.
Well, Jay, you and I have talked about this before, and this will always stand the test of time for me. I love it when there are scenes in films of dialogue and people are eating while they're talking. Oh, I don't know 100%. Why.
100%.
But I love it.
100%. It's a weird thing that you and I have. But man,
yes.
It's something about, especially if it's like a bad guy, like making like
yes, definitely, yes.
Like Inglourious Bastards when he's he's eating that dessert and
yes,
talking to the French girl.
Oh yeah, the way for the cream that's insane. Nazi son.
When it's another one where I'm just like, just give him the Oscar.
Right. Just turn the movie off now. I don't need to see the rest of this. I know this.
What were you saying? I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off. What'd you say, Mick?
Oh no, I was just commenting on just saying Nazi bastard because that scene just like And then right after that, you were like, yeah, the Oscar was like, yeah, I believe that he was actually that character. He was so good at it. He wins.
Yes.
Throw the golden statue at his head and just walk away.
Not to make this about Inglourious Bastards, but like,
right? Where were we reviewing
this? Could have been like one of those, and this could have been like one of those like Hollywood rumors. Was it true that he had like hard time getting work after that because he was so good at being like a bastard in that movie? Excuse the pun. That like I think people hated him for a bit. It took it kind of took a little bit to wash off that
He had to wait and do the next Tarantino movie so he can start doing other movies. So it'd be like, okay, he's not okay. All right, he's not that guy. All right, I forgot. It's a job.
He's not a Nazi, everyone.
He's not an actual freaking Nazi.
Well, after that, he did Blofeld. Also, in the Bond movies, he was Blofeld. But, I mean, that's a very similar kind of tone.
Yeah. You know how Bond hates those Nazis.
He's,
getting back to the...
Gotta hate him.
The movie of topic. One of the other notes I had, it was right after the scene where he comes into the bad guy den, and he's, they all start shooting him, and it's like 50 guys shooting him at once.
Mm-hmm.
How long till they realize, hey guys, shooting this guy isn't working?
That's where I appreciate the character Skank so much. Is after that scene, like all the fucking blowout and shit. Like he had the smartest moment I've ever seen for any henchman, lackey ever. Just of like, Skank's dead. He's over there. Like, you got him, man.
Good job.
Good job. You can let me go, man.
Yeah, give it up to Skank. I mean, he's clearly presented as being the dummy of the four Jolly Pirate gangster guys, and he's he is the one that kind of tried to pull at least somewhat of a strategic move there.
Yeah. I mean, two other notes I had. The Jesus 3 nails like joke he makes. Mm-hmm. That is the only part of the movie that I remember from the times I've attempted to watch it, which is weird because it's like dead center of the movie.
Yeah, it's like 20 minutes in. It's like 20 minutes in. Yeah,
I thought it was much later because it's not his first kill.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. I'm thinking of the pawn shop. It's Fun Boy.
Yeah, it's when he kills Fun Boy.
And that's right, because that's the scene. He starts telling the Jesus joke, and Fun Boy shoots him in the shoulder, and he stops in the middle of the joke, and then he turns and goes, "Ow!" and then he keeps telling the joke.
Right. That was that line was great, and then another line that I was actually more surprised about: "It can't rain all the time." Mm-hmm. I knew that line just from people quoting it, seeing it on T-shirts.
I say the shit all the time.
Yeah, or exactly. I mean, I've heard you say it a million times. I thought it was going to be a bigger line in the movie. It was such a throwaway line.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just says that, and that's when Sarah realizes Eric. But there was no precursor of it being something that he says all the time. It was just, I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. How he was going to deliver it. I thought maybe it was going to be in some cool ass scene as he's killing another one of the gang members or something. But yeah, it was just kind of like a throwaway line.
Yeah.
That kind of surprised me that quickly dropped of a line ended up being something that a lot of people quote when talking about this movie.
That's how deep we get with this movie, man.
Well, it starts over again when Sarah's playing the Hangsman's joke record. That's where it skips over and over and over again. So that's in your head. And then on the end credits, they have the weird, ethereal, I can't remember the band's name, doing It Can't Rain It All the Time. And it's just all,
it sounds like the Cranberries.
Yeah, but not as talented. I think that's why it sticks in your head so much, because it's in the background so much. He says it once, but it's in the background.
Yeah.
A lot.
It keeps getting brought up.
Speaking of some of the musical choices in the movie, I love Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah.
And I love the song Big Empty. Mm-hmm. What a weird place they put it in the movie, though. It was after the gang members, after they blow up the arcade.
Yeah.
they're in the getaway car, like driving back, and that's what they're. I don't know why. I'm just like, there's a list of 100 songs I probably would have. I mean, I'm sure they have to stick to the soundtrack. It didn't fit for me. It was, again, it's another weird thing that like pulled me out of the movie. And I think that's like really my big takeaway of the movie is like, there were definitely aspects of the movie that I really enjoyed, but and there were characters and scenes that I really enjoyed. I fucking loved Brandon Lee in that movie.
Yeah.
But I feel like everybody was kind of in a different movie. Like so the guy Strix, the guy we were just talking about, the
Skank,
yeah.
Skank.
Like I felt like
Skank's
he
dead.
definitely would have been. I feel like he definitely would have been in Tim Burton's Batman as one of like Joker's henchmen. You know,
Yeah.
He could have been Bob
at the art gallery.
Yes.
Right, 100%.
Okay.
100%. 100%. Like, but he didn't. Like, he felt like he was on loan to the Crow. like he wasn't in that movie. Sarah, there were certain lines where I'm like 100% she's totally in this movie, and there's other lines where I'm just like, what movie is she in right now? Like, it felt very disjointed with some of the choices the characters made. Like I said, I think Top Dollar as a bad guy in another movie would have been dope, but like, I don't know. I would have rather seen more of like almost like a Kingpin kind of final boss, like Kingpin, the Marvel character, like a more imposing.
Like physically, you wanted like a big dude.
Yeah, I wanted more physically, because I mean, for the most part, Crow just kicked the shit out of everybody. I mean, with the exception of that like brief moment when they shoot the actual bird, you know, and he loses his powers for a bit there. Besides that, and you know, dying in the beginning, he doesn't really. No one is even close to stopping him. I mean,
Pretty fucking weak in the beginning, wasn't he? Gets the tar beat out of him and thrown out of a window.
Oh man,
that was the best line of the night. Oh man, yeah, I guess that's shit. I looked weak in the beginning, but I'm coming in strong. You gotta make me look strong in the end, brother.
you gotta give it to Top Dollar on that though.
What are you saying,
like,
Mick?
It wasn't some. You gotta give Top Dollar like the credit to that one. Like when they have the scene where like they find out, like they figure out we gotta get the crow, the bird that's actually falling around. We gotta take care of that thing. They didn't come up with like, let's put him in a cage or like something. Okay, they're like, no, we're just gonna shoot the fucking bird. Don't screw around. Just shoot the damn bird. And like, I think where they
Why did
lose.
they keep shooting it? Is my
That's I think because fucking Candyman got distracted, man.
What's her name?
That's what like because and she
right.
Her down in my notes. Bailey.
Grange is now going to be Candyman for the rest of this conversation.
I can't believe that's him. I mean, I might go back. And
I can't either. That blew me away.
Yeah, her name's like Micah or Miko. I can't read my writing right now. Played by Ba-Ling.
The weird
sister.
sister.
The sister.
The weird sister.
Yeah.
Like, that's where they kind of got fucked up. It was like, because she was like, I'll take it and I'll like learn how to take its power. Or
Yeah, she wanted to like own the bird.
Right.
Right. Like, she wanted to take the power away from it, give it to her lover, brother, the Lannister thing going on there. Yeah.
Her whole character, just, I was like, what the fuck is going on with this? Like, she's like gouging people's eyeballs out and lighting them on fire while he's doing coke. Like, I'm saying, he's a badass character. I would have loved to see him in another movie. But I don't know. I went to see like Crow come in. He's, can't shoot him, but like just some Bane motherfucker just beating his ass.
No, he just breaks his back. Like,
there you go.
You know where my henchmen screwed up? They didn't throw you from a tall enough building and just throws him off the top of the church. Like, that would have been.
So, the supernatural element, right? So it's clear that there are supernatural things happening in this movie because crows are able to bring souls that haven't been put to rest because they have a job to do and things like that can bring them back. And to a certain degree, there is a level of superhero quality to Eric Draven when he comes back. Like he's not overtly powerful. He's resistant to damage and he can't be killed seemingly. But like there's very little outside of that. Like he doesn't have beams that he shoots out of his hands. He can't fly, like stuff like that. He has a little bit of a tinge of super strength that you kind of see here and there when he's tossing dudes across the room, but even that's kind of minimal.
Yeah,
but yeah,
a crackhead. You know?
He also has some like
yeah. Well, I mean, when he's
telepathic powers, like empathetic powers, like he can grab
excuse me,
a picture and like he remembers the moment.
That's true.
As it was taken. Like he got all of from the cops, the side
Albrecht.
cop character. Albrecht, thank you. Albrecht, like when he got all the memories of Shelley dying, got it from his memory. Like it also seems like sometimes the choices that he made, acting as Eric, was just like it felt like he had like a weird kind of empathy turned on to 11. Like sometimes I felt like that scene with Funboy, I felt like he was feeling a little high off of them, kind of thing. Like, I think that might have been another little thing that was hinted at here and there. It was like you could just sense things off of people.
Shit, man. I gotta watch the movie again. Because that's a really good point. I didn't pick that up at all.
I did like how, like, he went in there, and, like, there is definitely a point of, like, he's having fun killing these guys, and then it's kind of like that realization of, like, why he's doing it, and then he kind of comes back down. So it's definitely like an emotional roller coaster for him, which I really dug. I mean, I thought that was either great writing or great acting. You could really tell the emotional range of what getting revenge really means.
Yeah.
Damn it! There was something Nick said that.
Well, while you're thinking of it, the point that I was going to get to with the supernatural piece is there is no explanation as to where Top Dollar's sister like gets these oracle abilities that she seems to have, or whether or not she really does have anything. She seems to have some kind of future sight or something. She's a clairvoyant or something like that.
And that was another thing that bothered me. And again, like, I don't want to be that, like, the comic book guy from, you know, Simpsons, where it's, you know, like, well, in scene, you know. But to that example, like, if the rules of the movie tell me that this guy came back from the dead because of this crow, because of his unfinished business, that's why he has these abilities, and he is the abnormal, I'm for it. But then when you have something like her character, where she clearly, like you said, has some kind of future sight, it's like, well, so does everyone have, like, can anyone get special abilities, or is it only certain? So, like, again, I don't want, like, I hate being that, like, I can just sit and watch a movie, but I am like one of the people. It's like, if you set up rules for a movie, you've got to abide by your rules. Another thing that bothered me, and again, I feel very comic book guy about it. There were scenes where he could definitely teleport. Like,
Draven?
No, Eric.
That's what I mean. Eric Draven?
Yeah, like he teleport, like he kind of pulled the Batman trick where he's like talking to someone, they turn around, he comes back and he's gone, and then like he disappeared in the backseat of their car and stuff. And so there, to me, I mean, I felt like teleportation was one of his abilities. Like he just kept showing up in people's like when he Funboy, he just kind of showed up. Or did he come through the door in theirs?
He came through the window with Funboy, yeah.
And I mean, it could be like a Batman thing where he's just like waiting for you to turn around and he haul his ass out of the room. But I felt like he could teleport, but then other times he couldn't. And I was just like, well, wait, the cop comes and he comes and picks him up and drives him like 2 blocks, and then he disappears out of the car. And it's just like, he could have just teleported. Like, anytime he's in trouble, he could just teleport. Or can he not teleport? And I'm just...
Are there limitations to that power? Ability. Which there might be, because they kind of made Elbrick made a little fun line about it, like in the scene in his apartment. And he goes, "Are you just going to I'm going to turn around, you just disappear in a mist again?" And he's just like, "I was going to use the front door this time."
Yeah. Which again was a weird line from Brandon Lee, but like I like that one. I'm picky about the things that take me out of movies, I guess. But yeah, because doesn't he do it again later to the cop and Sarah, and then the cop makes a comment about it, like, yeah, he does that. He does that
a lot.
Yeah, which is a very Batman thing. I feel I feel like Commissioner Gordon's dropped that line. You know, he waits at parties to drop that line. Like, man, I can't wait till fucking Batman disappears so I can drop mine. He does that a lot.
It's gotten to the point where everyone else at the party is just like, we just wait for Batman to show up so he can do his one line and he'll drink for the rest of the night.
So we can enjoy this damn
Have you
party.
seen some of the shit he's had to see? If I can just give him this one thing. Just give him the one thing, all right?
You know, Gordon won't let us in the kitchen until he's said his line. Right. Really hungry. Just wish Batman would get here.
I've tried running out of the room a few times, and it doesn't work when I do it, apparently. I gotta be a 6'2" bat, apparently.
There'd be a billionaire.
You were saying somebody hit something on the head.
I think you hit it. I think you hit it on the head earlier when you said that it felt like this movie could take place in Gotham. I mean, I think it makes sense that, again, I didn't know this going in, that Crow was apparently it had a comic book run. I mean, I don't think it was like a huge run. I think I looked it up. It was like 50 to 80 issues. I know that's a huge gap, but I know it was at like 50 some or 80 some.
It's like the time window you get from the cable company.
I tried to dive a little deep on that too, but I couldn't get a straight answer because it seems like there's some point it was a comic strip too. So I don't know if the issues include the comic strip or if that's a separate thing. But I was like, I've already taken so many notes on freaking, what was it? Big Trouble in Little Tokyo or whatever the hell it was for Brandon Lee.
I watched that movie.
Lundgren's in this.
So did either of you guys read the comic before, or after, during your viewing of The Crow?
Definitely during.
Hey man, I did some stuff while watching the movie.
I read The Crow, the original graphic novel, but it was after I saw the movie. What were you saying, Mick? Sorry.
I did the same here, but it was so long ago since I've read it. I can't even remember what. I remember the hair being really freaking weird choices, like that 80s hairspray metal band hair going on that he had. That was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at a lot of the art, and I mean the art looks dope. I mean, I wasn't the biggest comic book kid growing up, but I feel like this is something I definitely would have picked up and checked out.
Did they ever name Top Dollar in the film? I don't remember them ever saying his name.
Not that I can remember, but
it's a throwaway. It's a throwaway line. Fuck, I forgot to write it down. Somebody says Top Dollar said to do this. I don't remember if it was
okay, like T-Bird or something.
It might have been T-Bird. Like, hey, Top Dollar wants this done.
Okay.
It was real
So here,
that was it. That's all you heard for his name until the credits.
Got it. Because I remember them Candyman refers to him as the man. But that's really the only thing I remember them ever saying. But I wanted to circle back to your STP being played in the car after they blew up the arcade. I took T-Bird as... I really wish... So, first of all, I love the fact that The Crow is tight. It's an hour and 40 minutes. They don't delve too much into things that you don't need to know. We don't need to dig into T-Bird's backstory. But there's part of me that wants to know some more about T-Bird. And the reason why is because he has some lines and he delivers some dialogue in a way where I really get this feeling off of his character that he is a very devout, religious person. And there's a lot of talk about the fall of society. He's kind of naming things like that, the streets flooding with shit, and then the whole city burnt down because it caught fire or something like that. And he's like, I really wish I could have seen that. He's all about seeing the fall of mankind. And I took that to be he's got some kind of he's got like a moral compass. It's obviously a twisted one, but it's one that he ascribes himself to. And so I wouldn't have been surprised, because it's T-Bird's car, if when they were pulling away from the arcade, they were listening to like gospel music or something. And I think that would have been a really cool decision. It wouldn't have obviously fit with the soundtrack, but I think it would have been a cool decision. But yeah, I would love to know more about T-Bird's character, just because there's certain things I get off of him, and the other ones don't have that much depth of character.
Right. Were there sequels to The Crow?
There were. They don't have anything to do with the original story.
No.
Each one is essentially it's the same thing. You know, somebody gets murdered, and yeah.
I dig that, because it's, you know, the whole idea is that, you know, he settled his shit, and, you know,
yeah, and now his watch ends.
Yeah, and
now a new crow must arise.
Well done.
None of them are obviously as good as the first one, but the second one does have Iggy Pop in it.
Well, they wanted Iggy Pop as top
Which is
dollar
awesome.
in the first one, but there was a problem with like a tour schedule or something. So,
Really,
I thought they wanted him to be Fun Boy.
I've heard both. I could see both too.
Okay.
That's the problem. And
I could. I agree.
Because I thought him as top dollar would, him delivering the line like a little worm on a big old hook. Your mama must be proud, boy. Like I could see Iggy Pop saying that shit.
Yeah, in that Michigan accent,
right?
He's bleeding everywhere.
Cool smokes.
Kind of one of the last things that I wanted to make sure to touch on as we are continuing on is, and we kind of have talked about it a little bit, to a certain degree, I laugh at this movie ironically, because it's stuff that I think is awesome, and that's what makes me laugh. But really, like, the writing and stuff like that, this movie was a lot funnier than I remember it being. Like, it had me laughing a lot of this, and it was clearly things that were being played for humor. And yeah. I just don't remember it being the comedy that it is. And one of the things that I really enjoy about it, and I guess maybe it's my most important piece, is I really appreciate the character of Eric Draven, because he isn't a badass. So obviously he's unkillable, and so when he walks into a room, he can clear that room with no problem. However, he does not do it with deadly John Wick efficiency. He's a musician who can't be killed. And so, like, when he gets in a fight with Tintin in an alley, it looks like an alley fight. Like, it reminds me of a worse choreographed version of the alley fight from They Live. Like,
I thought the same thing.
It's just a knockdown, drag out thing. Yeah. Like, it reminded me of it. It's just like, you know, I'm sticking this dude's face in the muddy water. Like, we're not having this great choreographed fight. He's not a master with firearms and things like that. Like, he's just a dude. And he just happens to be a dude that you can't kill. So what do you do with him? You know? And there's some slight variations on that, like him catching a knife out of the air. And, you know, some of the acrobatic stuff he does during the big shootout scene at the club. Like, he does some kip-ups and some Mexican rolls around and stuff like that, and has a little bit more acrobatics going on. But for the most part, he's just like a meat and potatoes, like, kicky-punchy guy, and, you know, has about as much skill with a firearm as pretty much anyone else, without it feeling like he's special. It's literally, it just boils down to, like, the Crow has imbued him with this ability to not be able to be killed.
Right.
And I liked that. And the exact quote, if I'm quoting myself here, that I wrote in my notes is, this movie has style. It has its own style, but I would not say this movie is stylish. There's nothing slick about this movie. It's just kind of dirty and grungy and grimy, and that's kind of part of its charm, in my opinion.
So,
yeah,
I will say this. Go ahead, Mick.
Yeah, on the grungy and the notes of, I've noticed, like, the great thing about, like, pretty much having, like, a home theater now. Like, your TV is now pretty much the size of a movie screen, if you will, in your living room. And getting to have the great upgrades to technology. Like, I didn't notice on the dingy CRTs we were watching it on back in the day, like, the makeup choices that were made. Like, I feel like a lot of the bad guys were made to look disgusting and dirty and lack charm, and, like, no, they're going to look this way. While people that were more on the good side of things, like, there's a shift in Darla's makeup if you watch it when she's with Fun Boy, and then Eric Draven takes the heroin out of her system. All of a sudden, like, she lightens up. Like, there's some sort of, like, change in her where she's not as dingy anymore when she's making the eggs, being the mom that she wanted to be, and all that shit.
Yeah, it was totally... I'm so glad you brought that up. Like, how it was shot was really cool, because when she was with Fun Boy, you know, like you said, it was very dark. She was wearing all dark clothes, and then the scene where she's cooking breakfast, it's like the sun's shining through the window. I think, isn't she wearing all white at that point?
She
has a white bathrobe on,
nightgown or something.
Yeah. So it's, you know, I think it was definitely an intentional choice of, like, you know, that, you know, dark versus light, you know, her where her life is headed or where she's going. I think it was obviously definitely an intentional choice.
That scene also, it's I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that's the only scene in the movie where it is not explicitly at night and raining, because it can't rain all the time. So Sarah's life is turning around.
Yeah. And that's the thing. There's certain things about this movie I really dug. Now, this is what I was starting to say. There have been there's been quite a few movies that the first time I watched them, because of the mindset that I went in seeing them, I didn't like it after I finished it. So, perfect example, Cabin in the Woods. The first time I watched it, I was going in thinking it was going to be a horror movie. And then when I got done, I'm like, this was just like a campy, like, joke-filled, reference-filled movie, and I hated it. But then once I realized, like, okay, that's what I thought it was like they were trying to make a horror movie and they accidentally made this campy-ass movie. And then I realized, like, you know, someone was talking to me about it and they were like, no, it's meant to be like a referential, like, campy movie. And then when I went back and watched it with those kind of, like, you know, goggles on, I'm like, oh, this movie's fucking incredible. Tropic Thunder. I freaking hated that movie the first time I saw it. And I've gone back and watched it multiple times and have thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm going to give Crow another viewing. I'm going to give it some time, and I want to go back and watch it again, because I think part of it is the hype around it. Like I said at the very beginning of the podcast, you know, how much of the movie is beloved because of everything that surrounds the movie, or how much of it is because of just the movie's a great movie. So I think I went in with a lot of just the years of joking about the movie with, you know, my whole story behind it, and, you know, just knowing all of the backstory behind, you know, what happened with the movie, me being a wrestling fan and Sting, and his whole character. I think a lot of that, the movie had an uphill climb for me going in to see it. I think it was, so I do think, you know, maybe a month, maybe two, I want to sit down and watch it again with kind of fresh eyes and not expecting so much out of it, and see if my opinion changes of it.
Yeah. Worth noting also, in 2018, I think it was 2018, they were going to remake this film. And Jason Momoa was tagged to be Eric Draven, which I hated that casting choice.
Yeah.
But I also hated Heath Ledger's casting choice as the Joker, and I was very wrong. So, but Momoa just didn't strike me as a good fit. Like, he's huge. He's the huge...
Right.
He's called Drogo.
Right. Yeah. I don't think Crow is meant to be... Yeah.
He's sexy Aquaman. Like, why do you have sexy Aquaman as the Crow?
Yeah. Exactly.
I thought there was still a movie coming out. I thought it was coming out like next year or something.
I thought it got canceled. You might be right. I don't know.
Upcoming film is what I'm seeing here.
Is it still the Jason Momoa one, or is it another
$1 budget? Screenplay by Zach Balin.
No idea who that is.
Directed by Rupert Sanders.
Don't know who that is either.
It stars Bill Skarsgård as Eric Draven.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Oh yeah,
that makes totally more sense. But Jason Momoa is attached to the movie somehow. It doesn't say who he's playing though.
Oh, that would be so
awesome.
Good.
That's
now I'm into it.
See, that's what I want my top dollar to be. Some big mamma jamma who's going to beat the shit out of him.
What really sucks with all that, like when you're talking about like with top dollar, is like the guy that plays him, Michael Wilcock, right? Saying his name right?
Wincott. Yeah.
Wincott, that's it. Sorry. Gotta get my crappy writing. Dude is like known for like sword play. Like he's worked for the Three Musketeers for Disney. He's like, he was in Robin Hood. He was a Count of Monte Cristo. Okay, he was on Born on the 4th of July. But like he like is known for being able to handle a sword, and then we just see like hack and slash on top of the roof. And you're like expecting this big epic like fight, and it just turns. It looks like two brothers fighting in the back playground, like with sticks, compared to an actual choreographed sword fight. I loved the scene. It was well shot. It looked wonderful, but like you guys come from the professional wrestling background. You're sure you were looking at that just like, I've seen better kendo stick matches.
Yeah, like I said, I would love to see Top Dollar as a villain in another movie. Just not this one. Sort of unrelated. I'm looking at the other Crow movies. Crow Wicked Prayer.
Yes.
Man. Is that the one that's in the Indian?
Is that Edward Furlong's?
I don't... Oh, man. Just the cover. It looks like... it looks like we shot this movie.
It's because we did.
I remember working for Circuit City when that came out on DVD, and it just sitting on the shelf. Just gathered. Like, dust the Crow DVDs.
Oh, man. But it's got Edward Furlong. It's got Tara Reid in it, which it's going to be... I don't know. It's got Dennis Hopper in it. Danny Trejo's in it. Of course, he's in it.
Of course, he
David,
is.
The guy that played Angel, he plays the devil in this one. Maybe I have to go watch this movie.
Next we're gonna make our way through the Crow sequels.
There we go. That's our first story arc. Is going to the Crow movies.
We're gonna do the Crow arc.
Oh man,
it's not really an arc. It's basically the same movie over and over again, just different circumstances.
This time we're in the Arizona desert.
We're not going to actually watch it.
That's right.
It can't be sunny all the time.
Oh my god. We'll have the chick from Evanescence do the cover song for that one.
There you go. Amy Lee, she needs work. Might as well.
Yep.
Her something to do.
I feel like we said, the legend came to an end as of yesterday. I am going to continue to love this movie up to and including Mr. Michael Wincott as Top Dollar, because he's the man. Another fun thing that I just wanted to pop in there, this movie's called The Crow. There's not a single crow in this movie. Those are all ravens. And the reason why is because ravens are larger and easier to train. Food for thought.
Oh, yeah, that pissed me off too. He quotes the Raven when he burst in on the
oh yeah,
and it's like, you're not a raven, you're a crow. What
it's
are
true.
you doing?
Hey, it's a black bird. It made all the goth ladies wet in the theater. Just so good.
It did.
Oh yeah. It also led to that great. Didn't you hear me rapping? Just like. That was a pretty cool throwaway line that led up to, just right there. Like, I don't understand. You're supposed to hate that pawn shop character. Like, you're supposed to. He is the guy that you're just like, he's greasy, he's awful. He did his job, man. Love him for doing his job. And he did
a great job.
And I gotta agree with Top Dollar. Why does it take you so long for you to die? Like, why did it take... Like, he got shot, he got stabbed through the throat, and just give me the damn gun, I'm shooting him in the head again.
And another thing...
Already.
Going back to, like, some fun quotes. When Eric is draining the morphine out of Darla's arm, and he says, "Mother is the name of God on the lips and hearts of all children."
Oh, love that line.
Line is great. However, Silent Hill did it better, though.
Yes. As soon as he said that, I was like, Silent Hill did that so much better.
It's too wordy in The Crow. Silent Hill's "Mother is the name." What is it? "Mother is God in the eyes of a child."
100%.
So much better.
Boom.
It's clean.
Oh. As soon as they were saying it, like my first thought was like, they stole this from Silent Hill. I'm like, wait, no, Silent Hill came out like 10 years later.
Right. With the style choices that were made, the director also directed. I looked into his stuff. It was like the most recent thing was Gods of Egypt and I, Robot. But around the same time, he did Dark City. He was also the director.
Okay,
of
love Dark City.
And I was like, what is up? Like, there were some parts of the movie that I just loved that of him like running through what seems to be like Detroit. I think it's kind of established. It's kind of like a Detroit.
I think you're right. Yeah,
because which one of you, Motor City Madmen, wants to find out whether this gun isn't loaded yet? In that bar scene, but a lot of those long shots where there's just music playing. I was like, why does it feel like I don't hate it? I love this choice. Like some of the filler is like a music video filler. The dude was a big music video director before that, and I was like, wow, that's really weird. Like,
okay,
Fleetwood Mac and NXS, Sting. I was like, all right, we all got to do jobs we don't want to do.
Sting.
We're going two Stings now.
Well, and it also there's like 4 different scenes where you just see the crow flying over like the cityscape, like as Eric is chasing his next, victim or whatever, and that totally adds up because it looks like those scenes are from a music video. So I want to leave the floor open, but I feel like we've covered it for the most part. I don't want to leave anybody out in terms of if you have notes that you want to throw down, please do, and we'll continue to wrap on them.
I don't want to go backwards, but one of the things I appreciate about the movie is it didn't beat me over the head with an origin story.
Yeah,
like it was. Anyone who knows me, I like my biggest issue with most of the Marvel movies, like the first introduction of a character, is they spend 3/4 of the movie introducing the character and explaining.
How many times I gotta watch Uncle Ben die?
Blah, blah, blah. That's what, if I see Uncle Ben die one more time, I'm going to throw a cat through a window. One more.
We get it. The Waynes were good people. They got shot. I'm so tired.
Exactly.
If I have to see Barbara's fucking pearls hit the goddamn floor again, I'm going to punch somebody in the face.
It's Martha, damn it.
Martha, sorry. I forgot.
Why did you say that name?
It's a movie I cannot. Oh, I gotta rewatch that just because I was like, I can't. I kept on stepping out. Just I can't do this. I can't. Yeah, man, I'm with you on that. Like,
so
that's amazing with this movie. It's just like, nope, you got thrown out a window, and now he's back to kill them motherfuckers.
Yep, there we go. They did a little monologue at the beginning. The crow can blah 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 blah. Perfect. I'm in. I get the premise of the movie. Let's kill this dude. Let's bring him back to life so he can kill a bunch of other people. My one issue, though, is it never showed the relationship between Eric and Sarah. It definitely, I feel like, showed the relationship between
some of those scenes
Sarah
hit the cutting
and Shelley.
Oh, excuse me. Some of those scenes did hit the cutting room floor. If I remember right, okay. I have to go get my DVD out of the storage, but one of the scenes they had cut out is there is a scene where Eric and Shelley are giving Sarah adoption papers. They were going to adopt her. So that was kind of not there.
They did an amazing job of showing the relationship between Eric and Shelley. And in the few mentions of Sarah and Shelley, I got their relationship. She takes care of me, whatever. Got it. I never really, it was just kind of, I don't know. I just never got that connection between the two of them, between Eric and Shelley. I felt like it was his girlfriend's, younger friend that she hung out with. That he hung out with her because his girl. Like it felt like his relationship was because of Shelley, not because
the relationship,
he had a relationship
felt forced. Like it shouldn't have been there.
Not necessarily forced, but it was like, for lack of a better, so it's kind of like if when Brandon first met Ellie, I was friends with Ellie because she was dating my best friend. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like Eric had a relationship with Sarah because he was dating Shelley. Like she was the kind of Shelley was the conduit of the friendship. So them being so close and like that being such a big arc in the movie, I don't know. I don't feel like it was. They didn't do a good job in the movie to like show me that strong relationship between the two of them.
I just took it as it was implied.
Yeah, I took it as implied. Yeah. It was very similar to like I felt like the hot dog scene between her and Albrecht would be like it would like you could put Eric Draven in that same seat. Like this is something that she probably did with Eric too, like something sort of this.
But I mean, yeah, I don't want to end it on a sour note. I mean, definitely a lot of things from the movie I took from it, and I enjoyed. I don't think I again enjoyed it on the level as much as you guys did. I still wonder, how well the movie would have been received. I want to give it a rewatch. I will say, I mark my words, I will give this movie a rewatch. I will watch it alone again just to be on the safe side. Really, like my closing thought was my opening thought. I still really wonder how beloved this movie would have been if all the, everything that happened with Brandon Lee and the other things that happened on set wouldn't have happened.
I think it's become like something of a cult classic today. I think it was successful at the time, and then it kind of drifted away from the front of people's minds, and now it's kind of become more of a cult classic. I really don't have any box office numbers. I didn't write anything down about it, about how it did. I'm sure it made its money back, if not made some, but yeah, I mean, it may not have gotten the attention at all. Sure. I think it found its audience at home, and the success may have been partially because of the tragedy that surrounded it, and it's Brandon Lee's final film and stuff, and it really before he ever even got a chance to become a star, because he was still doing a lot of unknown work before The Crow came along, and then The Crow, he really showed he has range and ability, and so who knows what have come off the block for him after The Crow, and obviously we'll never get to find out.
Yeah. $94 million worldwide on a $23 million budget.
Okay. So that's not, huge, especially if you're considering that's domestic and all around. Like if it made $90 million in the US, that'd be great. And then worldwide, it would have been a huge moneymaker. So yeah. And it probably would have done even worse had it not been for the disaster on set. Any final thoughts?
Watch the movie again, Jay. I think you'll like it a little better with like some popcorn, a little drink. Just sit down, watch it. Don't have the notes out. Might enjoy it a little bit better that way, man. This movie is just...
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry, that's all good, man. I was like, do you have a thought? All right. This movie is just kind of wonder if it would have done better without him dying. Like if this would have been like his footnote onto a better career, because I feel like some things were cut out because of his passing and dealing with this movie.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been a bit better. It might have been, could have just sucked. Could have just been a B movie that no one cared about, and we wouldn't be talking about it today. But with me, it's in those classics as They Live. It's in there with a lot. Like Dark City I love that movie too. It's been a while since I've watched that. And just the cast that's in
this. Me too, but it's awesome.
Just this whole cast and like looking at like going through, oh yeah, I remember him from that, and I remember her from that. And what happened to Sarah? And not good things. not good things happened to the girl that played Sarah. Like the 2 movies that they had, most recent, we could have shot those. I could have took my laptop and shot that movie with the production quality that I saw going on with that. That poor girl, she did not have a career after this movie. But a lot of people seem to have a lot of people went over to a lot of talk shows, TV dramas and stuff. So it was really cool to get into look into all that stuff and have a better appreciation for the movie.
Yeah, well, and Michael Wincott's still being a badass. He was just in Nope.
Yeah,
and he was cool in that movie. He was a lot of fun in that movie too. So, yeah, I mean, my final thought, I guess, is this is a flawed film. I absolutely will make that very clear.
The guy died
some
while
of the
making it.
Some of the well, and to that point, and to what Mick was saying before, had he not died, we would have gotten a completely different version of it, because a lot of it's body doubles and stuff like that, and having to shoot the character in a very specific way so that they can kind of literally put Brandon Lee's face, digitally on there and stuff like that. And we would have, a lot of the stuff with Sarah's narration that kind of ties a lot of the movie together, that was all done after Brandon Lee's death, and it was just because there were so many other establishing scenes that he now, of course, isn't able to shoot, so we have to figure out other ways to get this information across. Yeah, so you may have gotten more of an origin story had he not died. I
looked up to see if they what scene, not to sound like more of it, but I was just curious what scene it was.
It was the fun boy scene.
Oh, see, I heard different. I thought it was the scene. What I read, it was the scene where all the gang members were shooting him.
It was Michael Massey's character, Fun Boy. It was either when he puts his hand up to Fun Boy's gun and then Fun Boy shoots him through the hand, or when Fun Boy shoots him in the shoulder. It was one of those 2 shots. I can't remember which one.
I wonder how, because I know a movie is not shot from beginning to end. It's, they shoot.
Yeah.
So I wonder how far into the movie, it happened. You know what I mean? I know you said it.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, I have no clue. Yeah. I just know that that's the scene. No.
I kind of derailed you. I just want to get that thought in there, but sorry. Go on.
No. It would have been a completely different movie. But yeah, I recognize it's not perfect. Some of the editing is weird. Sarah, in my opinion, is the worst part of the movie. And a lot of that stems from that uneven performance where you're just are you the innocent kid? Talking about farts and stuff like that, and I don't eat onions, or are you the mouthy little, tween who's pissed at her mom and tells the cops to fuck off and stuff which version of that character is this actually supposed to be? And so some of that unevenness kind of takes away from her interactions with pretty much every character in the film, including Albrecht, who, in my opinion, is definitely in my pantheon of great buddy cops to action heroes. I thought he was great.
Yeah.
I forget the actor's name, but he was a huge character actor around that time. He was in a lot of different things in the 80s and 90s, and I just felt he had some great interactions with pretty much every character that he was on screen with in that movie, including Sarah. But outside of that, pretty much everybody else that she interacted with, I thought it felt awkward, or it fell flat.
Yeah.
So,
are you talking about Ernie Hudson?
Not a perfect film. Ernie Hudson, thank you. Yeah. Yes.
Come on, Ghostbusters 1
Ghostbusters and everything.
Airheads?
He was Winston. Yeah, I know. God, he was in Airheads. That's another one of my favorite movies.
Such a good movie. Let me know when that podcast happens. I'm on that one.
We'll do that just to watch it. Nobody needs to see this because we've all seen it, but let's just watch it.
Yeah. We've all seen this movie.
You know what? Fuck it. Let's just watch the movie and not do a show about it.
Right.
We'll just call each other and talk about it. I don't need to record it and talk to you guys.
But no, I love this film. It doesn't surprise me, when people say that they don't love it as much as I do. I'm happy to have introduced it to Mick. I'm glad that happened and that he now keeps it with him.
Well, I'm glad you started a podcast to finally force me to watch it.
And to be clear, we definitely put it on the table where I was just like, Jay, if you would like for this, part of your life to continue, just tell me, and we won't do an episode about it. And he said, no, I'll watch the damn movie.
It's either this or Saving Private Ryan.
And that's coming up.
That's coming up.
We'll do that in July.
Rough one.
So with that in mind, fellas, I think we covered it. Jay, love to get an update from you in the future when you rewatch it. But for now, sounds like it was a fine film for you.
It was a movie I saw.
There you go. Didn't blow your hair back. That's okay. And, we can still respect and love each other.
Yeah. I didn't leave the movie pissed off that you guys made me watch it.
There you go. Or like questioning me because you're just
Right.
like, this is one of this guy's favorite movies.
What is wrong with him? My kid hangs out at his house. What the hell?
So with that in mind, Jay, it was great having you back. I'm happy to have you back, and I'm looking forward to our next foray into another film. Not 100% sure what it is, but we'll get there when we get there.
Absolutely.
And in the meantime, Mick, it was also great having you on for the first time, and I know we're going to be a little bit more sporadic with you, but we've had some... Yeah, I mean, we've got some ideas and coals in the fire about things that we can do and having you on for those, so we'll continue to keep in touch with you and have you back very soon as well.
Fantastic, man.
With that in mind, guys and gals out there, thanks very much for joining us for the Screen Sermon Podcast. As always, we'll be back next week, next Sunday. You can expect more from us. Please find us out there on the social media. You can find Twitter and Instagram at Screen Sermon. You can also find the Screen Sermon Podcast on Facebook, or you could always send us an email at screensermonpod@gmail.com. We want to interact with you. We want to hear from you. We want your feedback. We want your suggestions. So please give them to us, and look forward to interacting with you all when we do. In the meantime, we'll sign off for this week, and we will be back next week with more chatting about movies and TV and whatnot. So we'll see you then.
All right, buddy.